What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here, back again for another edition of Franchise Frenzy. This will be the part 4s. Okay, so they're not all going to say part 4. Some of the part 4s and even part 3s are yet to come, since they have some of the franchises have other films inserted in the numerology, if you will. Make sure you check out all the other channels: Horrific Nightmares JM, The Horror Man, Bronco Juggalo, and all the other ones that are doing the challenge. I really need to go back and watch some of the other ones, to be honest with you. Sean Urshan's doing it. So let's get right to it. I don't have as many of these. What you see before you is most of my stack of films so far that I've been adding to for Franchise Frenzy. So let's get to it. Number 10 is The Vampire Journals, part of the Subspecies franchise. That wouldn't have been apparent to me if I had just stumbled on this, but apparently it's going to tie in. Same director and everything. So I'm curious to see how it's going to tie in. I just didn't really get into it. I had a kind of a soap opera feel, a little bit of a different kind of setting. Pretty well made for what it was and everything. I just didn't really get into it. Now, on a Subspecies note, I just wanted to mention that I think it was the first film, or maybe the second one, the police chief was driving a car they used to call the cardboard car in Eastern Europe, and the first few films really did a great job of capturing that atmosphere of Eastern Europe. This one was more like just in a couple different houses and inside of buildings and so forth. Anyway, he's driving this car called a Trabant. I mentioned that I had a die-cast version of it, and I finally found it, so there it is. All right, so that was number 10. Vampire Journals. Number 9, Annabelle Creation. Almost kind of surprised it's number 9. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was pretty good, actually. I certainly didn't hate it. Seemed to push all the right buttons. Something about it kind of perfunctory. I don't know what it was. I just can't wrap my head around it. It was just, should have been better. Should have been higher on the list, but it is what it is. That's where I'm going to have it. Annabelle Creation, number 9. Number 8, Puppet Master 4. This is one I wasn't sure. With some of the Puppet Master films, I don't really remember if I've seen them. I definitely hadn't seen this one. After part 3, where they're back in Nazi Germany, now they're back in a more familiar setting. They're in a house or factory or something, and it's the puppets are going wild. This time they're going up against a demon. So there is a little bit of a twist in there. Some of the human characters are kind of cool. Some of them are kind of jerky. Some of them get what's coming to them. I don't know. It was just okay. I don't know if you guys are picking up that wind, but it is a dark and stormy day. Actually, mostly just windy. But for example, I don't even remember. The 6-shooter was in it. Did he even fire his guns in the 4th one? I don't know. And that tells you something there if I don't remember. I just saw it. If he didn't, he certainly should have, because he's a cool character. So, number 7, and this one kind of hurts me to say, because I love the franchise, but I got to be honest with you. It's going to be Phantasm 4, Oblivion. Lots of wacky Phantasm goodness, lots of spheres. As always, I liked everybody involved in it. It just, I don't know. It's not my favorite. It's probably my 4th favorite so far in the Phantasm series. So that's going to be number 7. Number 6 was a bit of a surprise. A minor surprise in that I like the 4th installment better than the 3rd. The 3rd and 4th installments of this franchise were sort of both made for TV in Romania. And they both have a similar feel. And I was kind of surprised I like this one a little more than 3. Pumpkinhead 4. Lance Henriksen is back, appearing in people's heads as a vision, and I couldn't believe it. It starts off, and basically they start talking about the Hatfield and McCoys, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're putting the Hatfield and McCoy storyline in a Pumpkinhead movie? But it actually worked, and it worked pretty well. I kind of enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So, Pumpkinhead 4, number 6. So number 5 on the list kind of surprised me, as I hadn't seen it in a while. And that would be A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as the Dream Warriors, and some of the casting was a little bit different. Some of it was the same, and there were some pretty good transitions, and I thought Freddie was pretty good in this, so I definitely enjoyed it. So, Dream Master, number 5. Now, number 4 was probably maybe the biggest surprise. Saw 4. I really enjoyed it. I really didn't remember anything. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen it, to be quite honest with you, whereas many of the other Saw films I have vague memories of. You know, starting off with that great autopsy and all the flashbacks. It was actually pretty clever the way they did everything, to be honest with you, and pretty good storyline. Great traps. So this was probably the biggest surprise for me, was Saw 4 coming in at number 4. Now, for the next franchise, you know, I was talking to Jason and Joe when I appeared on the Horror Man's channel. We were talking about this franchise, and once you get past the original trilogy, where do you go from there? There's many different ideas, and people, you know, I'm going to go the route of cutting out Return of the Living Dead, and I'm going to go straight into the remakes. So number 3 would be Tom Savini's film Night of the Living Dead from 1990, the remake. Very solid. Patricia Tallman and Tony Todd are really just very good in this, and the critics didn't know what the hell they were talking about with this film. It's real good. It was almost my number 2. It was real close, but always enjoyed it. Maybe it could have been a little bit more gory, but a good twist at the end from the original. That leaves us number 2. One of the most unique films in Hammer's Frankenstein series. One that blew me away the first time I saw it. Frankenstein, Created Woman. Peter Cushing is customarily excellent. Susan Denberg is fantastic as the titular woman. See what I did there? Oh, boy. And Thorley Walters is great as his assistant. A very unusual, interesting film in the franchise. So that's my number 2. Number 1, there was no doubt. I mean, there was absolutely, could not be any doubt, as it's one of my favorite horror films. And in fact, one of my favorite films in my top, probably my top 5 of films of all time. Top 3, maybe top 2 horror films. It's hard to say. One of my best, the greatest theater experiences I've ever had. I saw it in 1986, I believe. Mostly younger people on a Saturday night in the theater. Everyone was just going crazy at the special effects. And it's held up so well. Last month, I did of course, the third part of the original trilogy. That was number 10. Well, now we've got the remake of the original, The Fly, directed by David Cronenberg, as number 1 for my part 4s. I mean, there was never really going to be any doubt that was going to be number 1. There you go, guys. What do you think of my part 4 rankings? I'll be back next month, last Friday of next month, with all of my part 5s. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next month. Later.